Imagine you wake up. The ground beneath you is hard-packed dirt. The air smells like sweat, blood, and something burning. You're not in your bed. You're not late for work. You're in ancient Rome, and today you're going to fight for your life. This is not a movie. This is not a game. This is the Colosseum, and 50,000 people are about to watch you try to survive. Could you do it? Not in the action hero sense, not the fantasy version where you pick up a sword and somehow win. Could your actual body, your actual mind, your actual instincts handle a single day inside the most brutal entertainment system the ancient world ever built? The real answer is far stranger than you think. Let us start before the fight, because the fight is not where most people break. You wake up in the ludus. That is the gladiatorial training school. Yours is attached to the Colosseum itself, connected by underground tunnels so the crowds never see you until the moment they are supposed to. Archaeologist Kathleen Coleman, one of the foremost scholars of Roman spectacle, has described the ludus as something between a military barracks and a maximum security prison. You have a small cell. You have a straw mat. You have a clay pot. You are not alone. There are dozens of men around you, and most of them have been here for months or years. Your day begins before dawn. You train. Every single morning, you train. Wooden swords against wooden posts, shield work, footwork, balance drills that seem pointless until the moment they are not. The Romans understood something that modern combat sports have confirmed. Technique keeps you alive far longer than strength does. Your trainer, called the lanista, watches everything. He has a financial interest in keeping you alive. Dead gladiators are lost investments. That fact alone changes how you think about what is about to happen. Here is the first thing that would shock you. The food. Gladiators ate what ancient sources called a barley and bean diet so consistently that Roman physician Galen, writing in the 2nd century, nicknamed them hordery, which translates roughly as barley men. Bioarchaeologist Fabian Cans led a 2014 study analyzing the bone isotopes of gladiator remains found in Ephesus. His findings confirmed it. Gladiators ate enormous quantities of carbohydrates and plant protein, almost no meat. The reason was deliberate. The subcutaneous fat layer that a high-carb diet builds acts as a kind of biological armor, protecting nerves and blood vessels from shallow cuts. A slash to the arm that looks dramatic in the arena draws blood, entertains the crowd, but does not kill you. Your fat absorbs it. You keep fighting. So before you even step into the arena, your body has been re-engineered by diet and training into something specifically designed to survive being cut repeatedly without dying quickly. Now it is the day of your fight. The morning of a munus, which is the formal term for a gladiatorial event, begins with a public breakfast. This is not kindness. This is theater. The gladiators who will fight that day are displayed eating a lavish meal in public, sometimes in the forum, visible to the city. Citizens walk by and look at you. Some offer you food from their own hands. Some are weeping. Some are writing your name on the walls. Historian Thomas Wiedemann, in his landmark study of gladiators and the Roman emperor, noted that this ritual breakfast served a dual purpose. It humanized you to the crowd, which made your potential death more emotionally resonant. And it gave you a final dignified meal in case it was your last. You eat. You try not to think about what comes next. You probably fail. The procession into the arena is next. You march in through the gate of life, wearing your armor, carrying your weapon. The crowd noise begins to build before you even see daylight. Then the tunnel ends. The sand opens up. The roar hits you like a wall. 50,000 people. All of them looking at you. Psychologist Jonathan Savage, in a 2009 paper on performance under extreme public observation, documented what happens to the human nervous system when it perceives itself as prey being watched by a massive group. Your amygdala fires, your cortisol spikes, your vision narrows. This is not weakness. This is your ancient threat detection system doing exactly what it evolved to do. The problem is that in an arena, the thing your brain is screaming at you to do, which is run, is the one thing you absolutely cannot do. You have to stand there. You have to walk forward. You have to look like you belong. The gladiators who survived longest were not necessarily the strongest. They were the ones who had trained their nervous system to function inside that terror, not to eliminate fear, to work alongside it. Now the fight itself. Your opponent is selected based on armament class. The Roman system was meticulous about this. A Thraex who fights with a curved Sika blade and a small shield is typically matched against a Myrmillo who carries a gladius and a large rectangular scutum. The matchups were standardized because the crowd demanded competitive drama, not slaughter. Your lanista and the event's editor, the sponsor of the games, had spent weeks arranging the pairings. This was not random. You circle each other on sand that has been raked and sometimes colored. Red sand was sometimes used so that blood was less visible to the crowd, a discovery referenced in archaeological records of the Colosseum's arena floor preparation. The irony is sharp. The blood is everywhere. The crowd just cannot see it as easily. The fight lasts minutes, not hours, not the drawn-out cinematic duels you have seen on screen. Roman mosaics and historical accounts consistently show gladiatorial bouts that were fast, technical, and exhausting. You are not fighting until someone surrenders from pain. You're fighting until someone makes a mistake. One wrong step, one overextended lunge, one shield dropped 2 inches too low. Then it is over. If you are the one on the ground, you raise your finger. That is the signal of submission. The editor, the sponsor of the games, looks to the crowd. This is the moment every documentary gets slightly wrong. The crowd does not simply vote thumbs up or thumbs down. The decision was complex, involving crowd noise, the quality of the fight, and the editor's own political calculations. Historian Donald Kyle, in his detailed analysis of Roman spectacles, found evidence that killing a good fighter who had performed well was considered wasteful and sometimes even unpopular. The crowd wanted to see you again. A fighter who gave them something memorable was worth more alive. Most gladiators survived most fights. That is the part no one tells you. Scholars estimate that execution occurred in roughly 1 in 10 bouts in the early empire, a figure that rose later under more extravagant emperors but remained lower than popular culture suggests. The men who fought in the arena were skilled, expensive, and carefully maintained human assets in the most coldly economic sense of that phrase. Killing them every time wasted the investment, but this does not mean you escape unharmed. If you win, or if you survive but lose, and the crowd spares you, you walk back through the tunnel. You go to the medical area under the arena, where the physicians are waiting. Roman gladiatorial medicine was, by the standards of the ancient world, remarkably sophisticated. The great physician Galen himself began his career as a doctor to gladiators in Pergamon, writing later that it gave him unparalleled experience with trauma, wound care, and the interior of the human body. Your cuts are cleaned with wine. Wounds are packed and sutured. Bone injuries are assessed with a level of anatomical knowledge that would not be matched in Western medicine for another 15 centuries. You lie there. You breathe. You think about what just happened. And then, because the games continue for days and your lanista has already sold your next appearance, you start preparing to do it again. Here is what your body would actually feel like if somehow you had been transported from your modern life into this day. Your hands would be shaking hours before the fight, not from fear alone, but from the cortisol and adrenaline priming your system for action it has not yet taken. The weight is, by every physiological measure, harder than the event itself. During the fight, you would likely enter something close to a flow state. Time would compress. Pain would register only partially. Your training would run on autopilot in ways that your conscious mind could not manufacture on demand. And after is when it hits. When the adrenaline drops and your body begins accounting for everything it absorbed. The trembling, the nausea, the sudden awareness of every cut and bruise and impact you barely felt in the moment. That is the day. That is what it costs. Could you survive it? The honest answer is probably not, at least not without the months or years of physical conditioning, psychological hardening, and technical training that the ludus provided. The gladiators were not simply brave men thrown into an arena. They were elite athletes, carefully prepared and professionally maintained, performing inside a system that, as brutal as it was, had a financial incentive to keep them functional. The arena was not designed for heroes. It was designed for survivors. And every morning on hard-packed dirt, with the smell of yesterday's fight still in the air, the men who walked onto that sand had already made the decision that today they were going to be one. The show has always been about one question: will they make it out alive? And somewhere in the part of your brain that never left the arena, you already know why you keep watching.